Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay awake. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to...
Okay, here we go. Hi, Mia Wallace. Nice to see you. Dark Side of the Moon, your latex spouse. Always here early and ready to moderate. Texas Brat, Scorpio Moon Gal. Hello, hello, hello. Wanted to talk to you guys today, hi Ash, about Fraser Michael Bohm, who, depending on who's reporting, a day after his 22nd birthday, while driving along the Pacific Coast Highway, on the Pacific Coast Highway, really, and it's on a part known as Blood Alley or Dead Man's Curve. He was driving at speeds of 99 to 104 miles an hour when he crashed into 4 sorority women. They were seniors at Pepperdine University. Their names are Niamh Rolston, who's 20 years old, Peyton Stewart, who is 21, Weir, also 21, and Deslyn Williams, also 21 years old. And he's just gotten repped by Alan Jackson. He comes from a wealthy family. His father, Chris Bohm, is the vice president of sales in selling medical equipment for manufacturer Recor. And they already have a turtle boy connected to this. Let me show you her before, and I'll show you her side of the story. Then we'll go back, right? So she's saying that he's a scapegoat because there's been so many accidents. This is why it's called Dead Man's Alley. And she says he one of her tweets says that, look, he was totally cooperative with police. Now, and he was totally clean, not drunk, not high, just picking up tacos for his friend, and then got into a road rage accident. And he's just a scapegoat because this is so dangerous and they won't fix it. Now, the victims' family members have sued civilly due to the danger of this particular road. So I guess that's being used against them. I mean, as part of Fraser Michael Bohm's defense. But let's look at his turtle boy getting on the scene and blasting out the defense side of the story almost exactly. So we'll look at her, what she's posted posting on social media. Here it is. And her name is Adriana Jacob. And so this is the things that she's posting on social media about it. But he's now being represented by Alan Jackson, who's asked for a continuance. He just got on the case 3 days ago at the time, a couple days ago when he got on this. So here is Adriana Jacobs. Here's her side of the story, or this is the Fraser Michael Bohm defense. He's out on $4 million bail.
If you followed the Karen Reed trial, you may be interested in another case out in California involving a car accident on.
So it's an accident. So this is very much like, reminded me of calling Alec Baldwin's case an accident. I mean, if you're driving recklessly at these speeds, and then you call it, yes, it's an accident, but there's so much recklessness. So to just give you an idea, the charges, very much like Karen Reed, first, he was charged with 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter, and then he was charged with 4 counts of murder. So they added that on once they found out the speeds. There's also been brought into this that he may have been texting. Now his defense lawyer has been very vocal, and this is an advantage they have. The prosecution, it used to be you weren't allowed to really prejudice the trial at all. And then there was this case that said that, well, if you're advocating for your client, you can make all these extrajudicial statements to the press. So that has really, that case really started these lawyers trying their case in the court of public opinion. And his first lawyer, before he hired Alan Jackson just a few days ago, was always out in the press selling this. He was just getting Taco's story. So here's Adriana Jacobs.
Pacific Coast Highway, one of the deadliest roads in California. 61 people have died, and still it seems like nothing has been done. Now they want.
So she's saying that nothing was done. So many people have died in this road before. And, just it's normal to drive at 104. People should be able to drive 104 miles an hour in a 40 mile an hour zone. Sorry, I sort of buried the lead there. It was a 40 mile an hour zone safely. Now, his lawyers also said that is wrong, so they're going to, I would think that Alan Jackson would attack this too, say, well, no, they just clocked his speed wrong. That's junk science. He was really driving 70 miles an hour. Still 30 miles an hour above the speed limit, but a little bit more driving like he's, I guess, even 65 is like really the limit you're going to drive on a highway. This is a curvy highway I know it's a highway, but it's very curvy and dangerous. And that's why they put the speed limit at 40 miles an hour. All right, back to Adriana Jacobs.
Want to blame Fraser Bohm for all of it. 4 beautiful women were killed. It's tragic.
Yeah, it's tragic, but get over it, because the real victim here is this guy. Get over it. I know it's tragic. 4 beautiful women. I'm not even going to say their names. So you can totally dehumanize them.
Unthinkable, but they aren't the first to die on that highway, and they won't be the last. This isn't about defending Fraser.
So she has an inflated number. I heard 53 people between a certain time, but
about asking why the city of Malibu and Caltrans are hiding behind a 23-year-old scapegoat while Pacific Coast Highway.
Right, a scapegoat. Where have we heard this? Pin it on the girl. Pin it on that affluent guy. Pin it on the young 6'3", 190-pound young person.
Highway keeps killing people. Yes, Fraser had famous friends. Yeah, he's been on private jets, but
I couldn't find any information about that. She's the first to say that he had famous friends and he was on private jets. I hadn't heard that. I only heard it here.
Also, he had 0 prior speeding tickets, no record, not.
Well, he just turned 22. How I mean, it's a kind of a short driving career between 16 and I've never had a speeding ticket, but I've also been out of the driving game for a long time living in New York City. I still have my driver's license, but I've never had a speeding ticket. How common are these speeding tickets? So he said he was in a road. Anyway, I'll give you a sense of where she's going with
Not even a warning. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high. He was getting tacos for his friends. So why is he facing 4 murder charges?
Because he was driving 104. She leaves that out. She also leaves out. Should I spoil it? Should I spoil it? So she'll say he was cooperative with police, which is such so he wasn't high, which is true. That's by all reports. There's been no reports of alcohol or any other kind of substances in his system. But she says he was cooperative with police. Yes, after he tried to flee. Sorry, spoiler alert. After he tried to flee the scene and was tackled by some fraternity guys. I mean, yeah. I mean, after you're stuck there and you get tackled, maybe, I mean, like, did he have a choice to be cooperative at that point? But he did try to flee the scene. Doesn't scream. Anyway, this is driving me crazy with this music. Hold on. Let me try to go back in time to, this is the original report after the fatal accident that killed Niamh Rolston, 20, Peyton Stewart, 21, Asha, Weir, and Deslyn Williams. So here you go. Who were just standing by the side of the road. So he ran into cars and then they were standing by the side of the road and just ran into them and killed 4 people. I mean, could maybe feel more sorry if he just was like, you can see him at the scene. I would just be devastated, and be throwing myself on the mercy of the court to try to absolve my guilt, but not very much like Karen Reed, stoic.
This morning after 4 women were killed after a driver hit and killed them in Malibu last night. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 4. I'm Pedro Rivera.
And I'm Lou Parker. In this afternoon for Samantha Cortese, that driver is now facing gross vehicular manslaughter charges.
And tonight we have learned all 4 victims were students at Pepperdine University. KTLA's Kimberly Chang joins us live in Malibu with the very latest. Kimberly.
Hi, the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station held a news conference a short while ago to talk about this fatal crash that took the lives of 4 young women. This is the block where it happened here on PCH. And a captain says they're still investigating this case, but she also wanted to raise awareness that speeding on PCH is a big problem and that things need to change.
So it's really notorious piece of the highway there.
The LA County Sheriff's Department identified the driver who crashed into 4 women Tuesday night on the 21,006.
So this was October 17th, 2023, around 8:30 at night.
600 block of Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu as 22-year-old Fraser Michael Bohm from Malibu. Authorities say Bohm was driving on PCH when he lost control.
This caused the suspect's vehicle to collide into 3 parked vehicles, and subsequently those vehicles hit 4 female adults standing on the side of the roadway near the parked vehicles.
The 4 women died on scene.
So that was the car that he drove, the red BMW that his mom had gotten him, and his dad was paying off some of the payments for his 18th birthday.
It's believed they attended nearby Pepperdine University Seaver College. Family members released photos of one of the victims, Niamh Rolston. The university released a statement saying in part they're in contact with authorities and will assist with notifications when appropriate. They also said support is available.
These four beautiful people went out.
So this guy, Michael Shane, did an entire documentary about this part of the roadway because his daughter was killed by what is being called a drunk and wanting to end it all driver. That's how they're putting it. But let's get to this. I thought was like the craziest. So he gets into court. Actually, let me play the rest of the rest is, let me just play some of this.
Out to have a night, a good time, whatever they were doing. And then one mistake and they're gone.
I mean, is this guy going to be a defense witness? That's what I'm thinking.
And the four families are now destroyed forever. And to me, that's the heartache, because I've lived with that, having lost my daughter.
Malibu resident Michelle Shane lost his daughter in a crash in the area 13 years ago.
There's too many people that on this stretch of highway that have been killed.
Captain Jennifer C2 says they're trying to educate people in the area about the dangers of speeding on PCH and working with elected officials to get speed cameras installed.
The leading cause of collisions on PCH by far is speed. We need people to slow down. Right now, we're looking at speed cameras. We have to look at law enforcement differently. We've got to change with the time.
So if they don't have any speed cameras, I don't know how you're going to catch people speeding on that. So here's a week after the crime.
Car crash that killed 4 Pepperdine University seniors. Tonight, LA's district attorney formally filing murder charges against 22-year-old Fraser Michael Bohm, who.
So this is George Gascon. So I've talked about him a lot on my channel because he was the one who thought up, I mean, let me see if I have that clip. He thought up this whole idea of putting in former defense attorneys, like getting a $50 million fund via the ACLU from the Open Society Foundation to run former defense attorneys for district attorney. And they mapped it all out. And this is when you hear Soros-backed prosecutors. So it was Open Society Foundation money. So that's George Soros's foundation. Via the ACLU gave them $50 million. And here he is talking about it. So he was a horrible DA. Crime rose. He refused to crime rose to epic proportions in Los Angeles. He was the DA of Los Angeles. He just got voted out, thank heavens, like massively defeated, even though he was quite back. But here he is talking about how he did that.
We literally started
how he got the money and how he decided to run all these former defense attorneys. So when they got in, their interest would be, instead of representing the victim's family and representing the state and the people of the state, they would represent, instead, their entire interest would be the accused and the convicted. And so it's like having everybody on a basketball team put the ball into one basket. There would be no opposition. So instead of, our court system runs in a balance of prosecutors and defense attorneys. So it would be to upset the system. So to put in people who had the name of district attorney, but really what their job and their interest was with the accused, and they'd act like another wing of the defense. So there'd be two defense attorneys talking to themselves in court. And this is happening in, they went in Baltimore, they put in Maryellen Mosby, who's since left and been convicted of fraud charges. Philadelphia, New York City. They went all over the country.
We literally started looking at the map of the U.S. and we were trying to identify strategically what are the urban centers where is anybody that could be considered a progressive prosecutor. There were a couple of people that had been nibbling in some areas, but we just couldn't find one. So one of the conversations was then, how do we go about creating a movement here, which actually eventually led to Open Societies Foundation, which is a George Soros Foundation, putting almost $50 million in 2014 through the ACLU to begin the movement. And people like Larry Krasner and others came to my office while they were running for office. In some cases, we identified people to run for office, and then many would come in after getting elected. They send their people in. So like, for instance, Larry's number 2, at one point spent almost a month going in and out of my office.
It's Larry Krasner, the DA of Philadelphia. I mean, they're going to call it progressive DAs. I'd call it pro-criminal DAs. And he was a disaster. Thank God he's gone. But
who authorities say was driving the car that slammed into those young women.
The investigation revealed that the defendant knew his actions were dangerous to human life and deliberately acted with conscious disregard.
The crash happened on a stretch of California's Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, just 4 miles from Pepperdine University. Investigators say Bohm was driving at 104 miles per hour in a dark BMW around 8:30 at night when he lost control, sideswiped several parked cars, and then rammed into the 4 sorority sisters who were walking in the area. Bohm's attorney claims he was being chased at the time of the crash.
There was a road rage incident that started at Duke's, that this person chased him and tried to push him off the side of the road. And when he accelerated to get away from him, that's when the accident occurred.
Bohm was...
So that Michael Kraut, that's the first attorney before we had Alan Jackson swoop in here.
Initially arrested on suspicion of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence, but was...
So the problem is, I mean, I'm thinking, looking at that, is there a grain of truth looking at the way Gascon ruled? I mean, he got rid of gun enhancements. So if you do a crime with a gun, all these things have been reversed with a new DA that's in there. But he got rid of gun enhancements. So if you did a crime with a gun, you got a lot more time. Got rid of that. So people were doing, tiny charges for really serious crimes. And he had a kind of progressive social justice. I'm thinking, well, is there some truth that he put such heavy charges on Bohm because would it be different if, say, his skin color were different or if he was disadvantaged instead of rich? But then I think Gascon was also part of getting the Menendez brothers, very wealthy kids, trying to get them out of prison, getting them eligible for parole and reducing their life sentence. So, I mean, I don't think it would be any different. I think it's just criminals in general. I don't think it's particularly, but would he have done these heavy charges if it had been someone else? Maybe. I don't know. Hard to know.
Released pending an investigation. A week later, on Tuesday, he was rearrested. The DA now charging him with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter. Bohm has pled not guilty.
You must understand that when you're driving with complete disregard for the life of others, severe consequences can occur.
The devastating incident now prompting calls for safety along the famed Pacific Coast Highway. Locals have dubbed that stretch where the crash happened Dead Man's Curve.
You said Malibu's safe. It's not safe.
At this heated city council meeting, residents in the beachside community.
So you can hear Alan Jackson go, there were 53, or I don't know, I think Adriana Jacobs said 61, something like that. Forgive me for not remembering exactly, but you can see him in an opening statement with his over enunciation and his dramatic delivery saying, actually, it was so dangerous. This strip was known as Bloody Blood Alley or Dead Man's Curve. But now my client, you can hear him say something like that is being accused. Were they charged with, but were they driving 104 miles an hour? That's the convenient thing that all his defenders leave out. And that's where the big charges come from.
Demanding more.
And if it's a road rage, so what I don't understand, and I think that his parents figured out, and we'll listen to his lawyer in a second, a longer interview with his lawyer in a second, but if it's actually, so you get the idea. They're trying to change apparently they put some money into doing some construction in this area. Obviously not enough.
Enforcement, speed cameras, and potentially a redesign of the highway.
Right. So if there's no, I don't know. There's no speed cameras. Hard to know. But here's his lawyer. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Here's his lawyer. Saying exactly the defense that obviously now they're going to drop with. Alan Jackson just came in. I'll show you in a second. Just came in and said, I just got on this case. So who knows? Is he going to make a multi-part conspiracy? And I feel sorry for every single one of these victims' families. They don't know what they're going to be up against. Alan Jackson. First, now it seems like obviously he was brought onto this case because of Karen Read, but it already has its mouthpiece, its social media mouthpiece. I mean, everything's in line with making this a gigantic case.
Today is the day that the narrative changes on Mr. Bohm's case. My client was picking up tacos for a friend. There was no drugs, no alcohol, nothing that he consumed, no smoke.
I mean, that makes it even worse in some ways. Like, what need is there? I mean, how good are those tacos that you have to drive 104 miles an hour? And then he's going to say, oh, then he got into a road rage incident. And I don't know when the texting is going to come in. He says he was texting at a stoplight, which is legal. His lawyer said in another interview. Who knows? But, I mean, how do you have to respond to a road rage by going 104 miles an hour to get away? That's not how you diffuse a situation, trying to drive 104 miles an hour. And he's from this area, he has to know this is a dangerous piece of the highway.
Smoking of marijuana. He picked up the tacos and was headed north. At the stoplight at Duke's, he had been stopped and was texting a friend to tell him he was coming there. And the guy next to him began to become irate. That person then gave chase to my client. My client continued at a regular speed, as the discovery shows, and the black.
I mean, I think the prosecutors might be saying that he was texting and driving this crazy speed, possibly. Don't know.
And then the other person came into his lane and started pushing him. That person then made contact with my client's car.
So we have apparently another benefit for the defense, and I haven't heard what I read, everything I could read about this crash, but there was always like two lines that there was the eyewitnesses saw different things, which is always what you're going to get with memory and how where people's attention is. So is Alan Jackson going to take advantage of the fact that there's certain eyewitnesses who saw this and that? I don't know. We haven't heard a lot about what other people saw that would help in his defense. So there's his story. But this is just the stuff that they're ringing home. He's a scapegoat. He was getting tacos. Why should he be a scapegoat? It's really the city's fault for not fixing this area, which I guess the victim's family would partly agree with. But the other part of it is driving so recklessly. So here is Alan Jackson in court.
It's a first-hand look at 23-year-old Fraser Michael Bohm in court for arraignment, which was continued this morning in a Van Nuys criminal courtroom. Bohm charged with murder, vehicular manslaughter, and a multitude of other charges stemming from an October 17, 2023 crash, leaving 4 Pepperdine students dead.
All right, the matter is here for arraignment, not guilty, denying any and all special allegations and charges.
Bohm's attorney, Alan Jackson, weighing in, asking the judge to postpone the arraignment, given he recently became Bohm's new attorney.
Your Honor, before the entry of...
I'm sorry. They just saw what I did with Karen Reed. Someone wrote me the greatest thing, that the lawyers all looked totally in shock that they got away to Karen Reed with that defense. When the verdict came out, I was prepared for it. I'd been saying all along, just because I've been familiar with innocence fraud and how it works and how it taints juries. But, excuse me, my client's parents just saw how I got a woman with tons of evidence against her. Tons. She was basically legally screwed, and I got her off with the help of a witness harassment, an innocence fraud campaign. They're hoping I can do the same for a client, but I need time. So curious when Adriana Jacobs started on this, and curious if she's working with the previous defense team, or she's working with Alan Jackson, or neither.
A not guilty plea, which is what we expect. Obviously, I would ask the court for one continuance of the arraignment. We have just been brought on the case as of the last 48 hours. Our appellate specialist needs about 30 extra days.
Bohm is accused of crashing into several parked vehicles while speeding on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu on that tragic day in 2023, killing 4 Pepperdine University sorority sisters. This morning, the victim's family in court to see the man accused of killing their loved ones. Bohm's attorney asking for the...
I just feel so sorry for those victims' family members. Like, do they know what they're up against? First, now it's just Alan Jackson. Anyone who's been in any kind of killed anyone with a car, he's going to be the go-to lawyer, certainly in California, if not other states. The most wanted if you have the money and can pay his fee. But there's so many similarities to Karen Reed being, let's say, photogenic to being privileged or rich to having total, what appears to be, let's say that with this guy, what he shares in common with Karen Reed is zero remorse.
The arraignment to be postponed until August.
So if we could have an August date, the beginning of August, 30 days from now, which I think would be August 6th, on a Wednesday.
The judge granting the request soon after. Bohm, who remains free on bail, left the courthouse with family and friends.
Folks, with ABC, can we, anyone willing to say a few words?
No, thank you.
Moments.
His mother sold her house. So originally she wanted $8 million for it. She got $3 million and change for it.
Later, family and friends of the victims filed out of the courthouse.
We're over here if you girls want to say something. We're with ABC.
All right, thank you.
Oh, they don't know what they're. I just feel so sorry for all of them.
Again, Bohm is due back in court in early August to be arraigned. In Van Nuys, Leo Stallworth.
So there we go. There we go. What can I say? Let me guess, Alan Jackson. Let me see what you guys are saying. Kyle says, let me guess, Alan Jackson will start living with him in a hotel. Get the documentary crew. Grab the documentary crew. And his fight for justice. Start on that Innocence Fraud documentary really quick. Come on. So what else do I have to say about it? Did I share everything I have to share? Let me see. Here's an article. I mean, there's scant information. It's mostly local. Let me just show you this. Show you his mom's house and his family. But it's just this little, you really have to get to paragraph 5 or 6 where it says that he tried to flee the scene. I mean, if you learn nothing else, this guy was driving 104 miles an hour before you feel sorry for him. And he tried to flee the scene and he was tackled by some fraternity guys. But you got to get to paragraph like 5 or 6 or 7 before you find that out. So yes, there have been tragic accidents. Yes, this is a known yet, and yes, there are civil suits from the victim's family due to the treacherous, how unsafe that area of highway is. But who'll be the new Richie the plumber? The people, I'm sure they're going to have these people who tackled him as. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen here. But this is the Daily Mail has been on this case. Crash was gifted the red BMW for his 18th birthday as part of his wealthy parents' divorce settlement. Fraser Bohm, 22, was charged with vehicle manslaughter. This is before it was up to 4 counts of vehicle. This is 4 counts of vehicle manslaughter with gross negligence. They added murder charges on with that. After 4 college students were mowed down and killed, Daily Mail can reveal that the car he was driving was purchased by his mother using a down payment of $25,000 and with further installments paid by his father. I think I said that. According to the settlement in his parents' 2018 divorce, the red BMW was a gift for his 18th birthday, all that I've said before. But here he is in his baseball uniform. And traces of the accidents can still be seen at the scene, including what appears to be blood on a wall, while mourners have also left bunches of flowers in memory of the 4 women. So Asha Weir is left there, and there's Niamh Rolston, Peyton Stewart, and Deslyn Williams. And these 3, the first 3, lived together. And there he is on the scene, looking, not showing any emotion at all, right? I mean, wouldn't you be an emotional wreck? But footage obtained by KTLA from the night of the crash shows a grim-faced Bohm. I mean, why do they put these emotions on? I saw just in another article they called him stoic. I mean, of both those, I would say are I would call it an emotionless Bohm being given a sobriety test grim-faced Bohm being given a sobriety test by cops while the mangled remains of his red BMW were being towed away. Daily Mail can reveal the speeding car that killed the 4 seniors. Okay, was purchased by his mom in debt for the down payment. And so here's his mom and dad. His dad is a VP of sales in a medical supplies company. And there's his dad, Chris, driving away. He has 2 sisters, Hayden and Hunter. And there's the house that his mom, I guess, sold for his bond and everything else. But that was she wanted $8 million. She got 3-something million for it. Here's the inside of it. Beautiful views. So that'll give you an idea. Bohm was a highly rated high school pitcher and played for the Oaks Christian School before he graduated. A little detail. There's the wall. Horrible. So that is what I have for today. I'm going to be following this because Alan Jackson is involved now. And it just seems like, actually, you know what? Before I go, let me just just a little worried about the music behind this, but let me just show you. Let me just show you a little bit. Star baseball player. Now he's a star baseball player. Was crashed. There's his parents' mansion. So it really reeks of the affluenza case. He more than doubled the speed limit. I mean, speed limit was 40 or 45. So this is her part 2 of this. So this is her second kind of media piece. This is Fraser Michael Bohm's Turtle Boy, Adriana Jacob.
Right before the Pepperdine crash, Fraser was allegedly avoiding a crazy road rage driver.
A crazy road rage driver. We've seen no evidence of this. And we know also that there's no cameras on that area, certainly no speed cameras. So how are they going to prove this? Do they have an eyewitnesses give different things of what they saw? So is this just his word?
A driver brake checked him. He sped up, not saying this was right, but it wasn't joyriding. It was reactive heat of
the moment. Driving 104 miles an hour. I've never driven 104 miles an hour ever in my life. He wasn't driving like 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. Although his defense says he was driving 70. Still, that's crazy. In this narrow little strip of highway.
the moment, a known danger zone the locals know as Dead Man's Curve. And let's be honest, this could have been anyone. Yet they're
Could be anyone driving 104 miles an hour.
charging Fraser with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of manslaughter.
So this is the same narrative they use with Karen Reed. She could be anyone. She could be you. They don't ask you to think that maybe you might be John O'Keefe and you could be in a DV relationship where when you break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend, especially, I always think that the Karen Reed case would be so different if the sexes were reversed. I mean, I think that the prosecutor, if the sexes were reversed, it would have been Karen Reed had been a man and John O'Keefe had been a woman. The narrative of the story would be the end product. Finally, when you leave, that's when the violence, it's the most dangerous time for a woman. The time she leaves a coercively controlled relationship.
Meanwhile, the same city that ignored decades of PCH deaths, they get to pretend that they're doing something.
Oh, now it's PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. I was like, what is PCH? Is this a new fad? Is this a new street drug? What is this? Pacific Coast Highway.
Something by throwing the book at one kid. And
Throwing the book at one kid. Now he's a kid. So I would expect they're going to do what they did with the Menendez brothers, what they did with Keith Raniere, dress him in pastel sweaters, refer to him as a kid, or I don't know. They didn't refer to Raniere as a kid, but they dressed him in pastel sweaters to make him look less menacing. Apparently they did the same with P. Diddy. That worked. So many of the playbook in Raniere's case that was so ineffective. Keith Raniere, I'm talking, of course, of the guru, Nexium guru. Covered that case from the courtroom. But this is, I mean, they called the Menendez brothers, they're still calling them the boys when they're middle-aged men. So they're going to keep calling him a boy and reduce his culpability. Who knows? In Chicago, they've legally, I believe, put the minors to 26 with this brain overclaim syndrome. So they go big on this your brain isn't fully developed till 26 thing. And so they criminally reduce your liability if you do a crime 26 and under. So is that what they're going to do here? I don't know. Looks like it.
Here's what makes it worse. Out of the 27 other fatal crashes on that.
This doesn't. Okay, so this is another strip of the highway, but this is not what it looked like. So another deceiving thing. This isn't the area. We saw the area that it happened. Here, hold on. Let me just share there's cars. It's not like right on the area of there's buildings. Isn't that interesting that she's choosing this very windy? See, she says same stretch of PCH. That's not the stretch. No, not from my view. Wait, sorry. Hold on. I missed that. Hold on. So you can see it here.
And that they're doing something by throwing the book at one kid. And here's what makes it worse.
Right? So there's that. And then let me share this instead. There's this versus this. I mean, it just reminds me of all the things Microdots did in the Karen Reed case. Richie Coe. Made the snow look less. That was a thing that the defense abandoned in Karen Reed, that it was such a light flurry of snow.
Out of the 27 other fatal crashes.
It was that night, but just it got very heavy the next. It was just like some flurries when it was a nor'easter the next day.
On that same stretch of PCH, none of those drivers were charged with murder. Even the one.
Yeah, maybe because they weren't driving 104 miles an hour. Maybe they didn't resist arrest. Okay, so you get the idea. Okay. That's what I have for today. That's going to be Alan Jackson's latest project. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening. I will catch you back. Have a great 4th. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a great 4th. Happy birthday, America. Are they saying Karen Reed's factually innocent in the comments? They love saying that. What does that even mean? She got off like OJ. She put on an innocence fraud campaign. She knew her case really well. She poisoned the jury pool, and the jury considered a lot of things. They didn't follow judge's instructions, didn't follow the evidence, and that's what you get. That's what you get. I was telling everybody beforehand, I thought she was going to get off. How did I know that? Not because I didn't think she was guilty, because I know innocence fraud campaigns. I followed them on this channel for, I don't know, it's got to be, 8-9 years, something? But I followed innocence fraud for longer than that. So I know this script. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Don't drive 104 miles an hour. Don't flee the scene. And certainly don't reverse into your boyfriend going 24 miles an hour in reverse in anger and in revenge and cruelty. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Mic check, Roberta strides through the static haze. True crime Gotham where the shadows play their plays. Fraudsters fold when a spotlight beams. Fact-focused queen busting propaganda schemes. Glass shatter lies echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light. Hard cash warrior, dissecting state and defense. Twisted innocence, claims breaking pretense. Gotham's truth seeker cuts clean with the blade. Facts in the forefront, no justice gets swayed. Cold facts drip heavy, real talk unfurls. Cracking cases open like oysters with pearls. Innocence gimmicks crumble to dust in the wind. For victims, her creed, justice till the end. Headphones blazing, she drops heavy artillery. Narratives twisted, meet blunt object civility. Roberta got receipts that unravel the ploy. Exposing the lies these fraudsters deploy. Glass shatters lies, echoes through the streets. Standing for victims, giving voice their beats. NYC Post, truth sharp as night. Roberta exposing she's the anti-fraud light.